last report from Professor Samoilenko Sергei Samoilenko. He is going to perform from the United States also, so it's early morning there, and hopefully we're going to hear about understanding new digital nomads, Generation Z, and their communication habits. And now we can see you. Good morning, I guess.
Доброе утро.
Well, yes, we can hear you.
Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Sergei Samoilenko, and I teach at the Department of Strategic Communication at George Mason University. And it's about 30 miles from Washington, D.C. It's a school in Northern Virginia here in the States. And I'm extremely happy to participate in this conference simply because the topic is extremely important. So we have to talk about the new generation of digital natives who will be working in communication profession in the next few years. And people like me, professors at schools, at universities, and also professionals working in different industries, whether it's public relations or marketing or advertising. Somehow we have to find a way how to communicate with those new digital natives. And so my presentation today is about like a new characteristics, new ways how to connect with those different audiences. So, today I've been using a lot of personal observations and some research done by Sparks and Honey. So Sparks and Honey is a great marketing agency in New York City. We've been working with them a lot, and they've been doing tremendous research on those new digital natives, on nomads, people who are young, ambitious. They travel around the world. They carry their laptops. They do all kinds of online projects. And so if we take a look at them, so I'll be using a few slides from Sparks and Honey for this presentation. Well, you see that they're constantly connected. Those people are constantly in their phones. They do calling, they do networking, they collaborate, they text, they write, they talk to their peers. And what's more interesting, they have no fear. They have no fear for this online environment. Because when we talk about social media, when we talk about digital environment, we mostly talk about the instruments, those tools that we use. But these people see this new digital reality is their actual world that shapes their new identity. So, so if we have to compare us and them, they are really digital natives. They're new breed, new generation that will be creating the course of this planet in the next 10, 20 years, which is extremely interesting and amazing for all of us to observe how they develop, how they grow up. So, so Sparks and Honey has been using this stats by Census Bureau. So you can see that Generation Y, which is millennials, and Generation Z, the number is increasing. So we have more and more young people actually becoming active in all kinds of information sphere, all kinds of business. They enter social communication, they do public advocacy, they participate in politics, they become extremely influential. And so what's more important, they actually set up certain preferences even for business, because most households, families, they, for example, build their budget based on interests of the new young generation. So these people start working early, they leave their parents early enough. They're not afraid of this online digital environment. So they intend to change the world. They try new things, and so you can look at what they do for trying to test new waters. They try to volunteer. A lot of them start working early enough, before they even become teenagers, especially in the United States. And they try to make an impact. They really try to make a difference in this world, which is extremely interesting, right? So I've been talking a lot to my students, and they do not have the same career path as we used to have. So for them, there is no great future like graduating from university and then finding a convenient job somewhere in the government or corporation. They they would like to try new things early enough. So they would like to be as less dependent on any infrastructure, any institution as possible. So very few of them go for actual government and state jobs, which is very interesting. So, and they constantly seek education and knowledge. So they use those online tools all the time. You can see that they are connected all the time. And so, for example, that was done a couple of years ago, this research. You can see that they really do a lot of research online. And of course, it has pros and cons with, being able to evaluate what's good for you, what's not. But the thing is that for them, the nature of reality has changed. So right now, so what we think of actual virtual reality for them is an actual reality. So it's, it's physical reality for them, which is very interesting. So at this point, their reality is really fragmented, right? So, and I'm going to talk about this later in my presentation. A lot of them have this fear of missing out syndrome, like they're afraid for not being able to see something if they get away from the screens, right? So they do a lot of activities. So they can multitask across 5 screens, especially people in their teens, in the early 20s. So, for example, Generation X, like myself, we can do 1, 2 things good, at the same time. But these young people, they can, do their homework, they can talk to their friends, they can listen to music, and they have television on at the same time, and they can really multitask well. And that comes simply from working with hypertext all the time, because if you work with hypertext like Wikipedia, that allows you to jump from one link to another, which is a great thing. On the other hand, you can see that their ability to stay focused has diminished. So you can see that the average attention span now is only 8 seconds for a teenager. So they communicate a lot with images. So online communication has mostly to do with newer sites like Instagram and, for example, Tumblr. A lot of them use Pinterest, which is another important and growing tool in online communication. And that's really interesting because as communicators, as educators, we have to know those trends. We really have to understand how to get their attention, because if you are not able to get their attention in 8 seconds, they're going to switch to something else. And this is really, really important we have to talk about. So they don't think of the world as one particular place. So they less and less think in terms of geographic vicinity. Mostly they look at the world as something global. They look at their home as global because they have multiple friends across the world, which is very interesting again. So more and more of them become these electronic anarchists. So which really changes their perception of what is your home, what is your homeland, what is your family, what is are you a patriot of a particular place? Are you a patriot of the whole planet? And it really changes and challenges their perception of those things. So they're very socially aware, and they're concerned about the future of the planet, and they really want to do something great for the planet, which is great, right? But that also has a lot of dangers, because you can see how a lot of companies can exploit young people for some wrong purposes sometimes, right? And but they really thrive in live streaming, co-creating, working together, and that's what really makes them different from previous generations. Even if we have to compare Generation Z and Generation Y, there are a lot of differences between people in their early teens and people in their late 20s. They have differences already, right? So, as I mentioned before, perception of reality is completely different. So, so you can see at the recent trends how the most important, most useful tools now for younger people. So you can see pretty much see them a lot on Facebook, but Facebook is not the main source of communication. However, most of them have Facebook. So after a lot of older people migrated to Facebook, more and more younger people try to embrace Snapchat for the purpose that it would not leave any traces. And as I mentioned before, they rely on a lot of visual communication, whether it's Instagram or whether it's Pinterest, right? So, so you really have to use this approach of effective storytelling when you talk to them. So every time we build new educational programs or when we try to communicate to them, we use this very simple formula. Which is from Andrew Stanton from TED Talk, who said, well, don't give them 4 right away, give them 2 and 2, because they like to see things in sequence. And you can see how actual modern marketing people have been using this approach by using this what we call carousel advertising, when they show different things in episodes, step after step. And that's a modern way how you can communicate message to younger audience. So so you have to actually show things how they evolve. For example, instead of showing the whole cake, you show them ingredients of that cake, how this cake is baked, right? So if we have to kind of summarize all of the Generation Z characteristics, well, first of all, you can see that there is constant online presence, which is also accompanied with this FOMO syndrome, which means fear of missing out. So if they're not there, they are try to get away, so that they really have this anxiety for not being on the internet. They rely on real-time communication. They really embrace visual communication, right? They multitask. They can do a lot of things at the same time. That might affect their quality of what they do. That's important. They really embrace global approach, and they're socially aware of things around them. They co-create, which means that you can't ignore them anymore. So if you do something, they need to involve them. Otherwise, they feel like you're being neglected. They're less likely to listen to you or follow your directions, which is very, very interesting and important as well. They use all kinds of things, including crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, but they use their virtual networks, and they communicate and they collaborate based on their task. And they really, really have this internet code of being transparent. They believe in transparency. They hate when things are shady, when things are not really predictable. So transparency is an important component of their code of ethics. So I would like to tell you a little bit about this campaign. So this one I wrote about in this handbook of major marketing strategies about 2 years ago, and we used the same campaign for a new book with Alexander Chumikov and Mikhail Bocharov, so we just came out, and basically it's about new competencies in public relations and advertising. So we used this case study for one of the examples. So basically what happened there, I can show you how Greenpeace used all of those elements of working with younger audience to get their project done. So, so we know that Greenpeace been using a lot of environmental activism since the 70s, and they've been using a lot of small boats all these years, and there's been a history of boats called Rainbow Warriors, and so there there is a very interesting story about the first warrior, which was sang by the French intelligence back in the 80s. And so they've been using one more afterwards. And then back in the our days, they really needed to build a new boat for their environmental campaigns, for their activism. So they really needed some help. And first of all, they wanted to use the help from their supporters who would be contributing to building the new ship. So they looked at potential sponsors, but all the money who sponsors could offer was not enough. So what they tried to do, they reached out to a French advertising agency, BDB in Paris, and they said what we can do so we can fund the construction of this new ship. And so this French advertising agency came up with this beautiful plan. And when I was writing this case study, I was talking to a person behind this operation. It was extremely interesting how they were approaching this campaign. They say, well, you really have to reach out to younger people because they have a completely different mindset. They're socially oriented, they think ahead, they're very globally concerned. So, but you really have to build your credibility. You really have to explain the purpose, and you have to explain how you would reach out to them and explain how you're going to use that money. So, and so instead of asking for ordinary donations, and just like what most companies do, and you ask for money and then you leave supporters hope for the best, whatever happens with your money. Greenpeace decided to create this overall story behind this fundraising campaign. So first of all, they used crowdfunding. So they used people from all over the world, and they tried to build this story of telling them that the planet needs a new warrior, a new ship who would fight for an environmental cause. And every person who would make a donation through crowdfunding campaign, they would get to own a part of the ship, whether it's a small button, for €1, or a mast or another part of the ship. So every person would be actually, every person's name who donated money would be engraved on the ship. And then they created this beautiful website where it's like a multimedia website to monitor the construction process, which has really contributed well to transparency of this cause. So when the ship was built in Germany, they put those surveillance cameras where every person could actually watch and see the process of this construction campaign. Then they offered this e-commerce catalog that encouraged visitors to purchase and own different pieces of this new boat. And then they shared this campaign from different social media sites. So a lot of younger people really wanted to be a part of this story. People who could not do anything in person or didn't have enough courage to advocate for environmental cause. They were able to basically contribute money and then see how the story would evolve and how the name would appear on the website and how the ship would be constructed. And that would be powerful because you can see how this campaign used all sorts of approaches for younger generation. It's crowdsourcing, it's using this transparency approach, it's justifying the cause for the best. And so the outcome was extremely successful. They were able to build the ship in a very short time, and they were able to attract over, I believe it was close to 2 million visitors from about 180 countries who spent, much time, contributing, and they only just €0 media investment. It was totally created as a burst in social media. So as a result of this crowdfunding campaign, they were able to raise over €1,256,000. and about issue 32,000 certificates of ownership. So a lot of people contribute, so they got multiple prizes for this tremendous campaign. So you can see how successful you could actually use this approach. So later, if you can click on the YouTube site, you can see the video about this case. So if you want to work with younger generations, so you have to have a certain checklist on how to approach younger people and understand their mentality. Well, first of all, you have to trust them and give them control, right? And ask them how they would like to work, how they would like to communicate, because they have their own perception of how things need to be done. So you have to help them co-create and help them make stuff. So you have to involve them and collaborate and help them collaborate with others. So in other words, you have to be able to be a liaison and connect them. Talk to them about global things. They like to be a part of something big. You have to include social cause, explain why this is good for the planet, for example, and assume that they have a lot of impact on others. They could be perfect opinion leaders. Just keep in mind they like visual communication, and they communicate very like snackable content, which means you should give very small doses of portions of information and images. You have to create a powerful story behind and share across multiple screens, because they multitask across the different screens, right? And finally, you have to kind of make it this entertaining, make it interesting. So you have to create a contest. You have to create a journey, like what Greenpeace has done. They created a journey, so every person could become a warrior. You can really do that by thinking ahead and having this important communication strategy for Generation Z. So that was my presentation. Sorry, I went over time. So, any questions?
Thank you very much. It was wonderful. The sound was good. The visualization was perfect. The topic, of course. The only thing I was thinking that probably we live in different realities, in different universes. You and me and John Moravec, because we were talking about the lack of motivation and the problems we have with this generation. And you're talking, actually, you are giving pretty positive characteristics. Even though I mentioned that there are a lot of words help and make them, so kind of treating them like adults, but they're not. Could you comment on that? Are they really positive characteristics, or I don't know, how has your experience, again, I am repeating the question I have already asked today, how has your experience, teaching experience, changed over the last 5, for example, years?
Well, I became more hands-off. I became more liberal in terms of how I would teach and what I would expect from younger people. For example, I would first of all do a lot of research and trying to find out what interests them. And instead of actually trying to set my own agenda, I would try to incorporate their agenda into my teaching. Pedagogy in my but at the same time, I'm not afraid of trusting the younger generation. We have a lot of freshmen, young people coming from university, and it is you can see how they can really not, and they're very honest about it. But if you able to find what interests them and be linked to the topic of your course, of your subject. I mean, I never had any problems with any younger people. And I not only work with college students, I work with high school students, mentor students in 14, 13 years old. And that's true. They see virtual reality as an actual reality, like us. They think that online world is an actual world, and what we live is different. So their reality is split, like ours. So, but you just have to take it as is. I mean, you can't really change it. You just have to understand those characteristics and basically diversify yourself as a communicator, or I would say more patient. but I'm very optimistic about it. It's just like a different form of communication, different sort of reality.
Well, thank you very much. It was very interesting. We have a question. We have a question from a student. The United States.
Даже по-русски можно.
Не надо.
Нет?
Hello.
Можно по-русски.
No, come on. We're
Question
looking
for
for
you.
the
So, in your country, education system has it already reconstructed for Generation Z, and all teachers becomes like you. Is it? Or not?
Not everyone. It's everyone.
It's a struggle win the process. What I'm talking about here, I mean, how things must be done, that ideal approach. Of course, people are still transforming, and those characteristics change. So that's why you really have to be flexible. Not everybody is actually able to change. There'll be a struggle. It not only happens in universities, companies, when we have this gap, generational gap, whereas in the 50s and 60s, people in their 20s, they have different perception of reality, different perception of how world works. And this is it's a big problem. I really try to bridge this gap between employers and students of and it's very difficult. You have to study those new competencies. You have to study how consider, embrace the generational, and what's missing, for education.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We wish, yes, all the professors could think about adapting their teaching experience, teaching habits. There's a saying, it's not a saying, it's a statement mentioned in some book that if a person from the 19th century found himself here, used a time machine and came to our time, they would be very, very surprised by everything, but there would be two places where they would feel very comfortable. Classical university and school, because those are the places remain generally the same still. Thank you very much again, and we are looking forward to getting the full text of your report for our website, and we're going to post this video on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for your hint on the topic for discussion. We discussed today the disadvantages of being a digital nomad. It was very interesting. And thank you for Dr. Finch, of course. We watched the video. It was wonderful. He recorded a beautiful video. He was so convincing. Presenting online. So hopefully we will see you later, and we will have some common areas for research and for further collaboration. Thank you.